All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. It's Rob here on the Rob Anderson Show, Foundational Healing. This is week 3, and thank you for sharing your time and space with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the people who've commented and sent in questions and everything on the previous shows, and I really appreciate that. And that's what's really going to drive this in the direction we're going. I mentioned before that I didn't schedule, every show. This is what it's going to be this week. This is what it's going to be. It's going to kind of be flying by the seat of my pants, creating in this now moment. That's what it's really about. I find when anytime in life when I've made very rigid plans, things get there's tension behind it, right? And so I like to go with the flow. And so this week I figured, okay, well, where do we start? And so based on some of the comments and questions, it's different for everybody. And so I wasn't always taught this. Now it's my go-to for everything because, I'll be honest, I was the kind of guy that always had advice for other people. And now I don't. I don't have advice for anybody. You have the answers within you. So my only advice to everybody is go within. And that's really difficult for a lot of us, myself, especially because I wasn't taught that. From a young kid growing up in a Catholic church and a half Catholic family, there was no go within. It was like pray to God and Jesus and things outside of you. Ask your parents, politicians. It was like this authoritative society, hierarchical religion has everybody looking outside of themselves for the answers, and I think that's what creates a lot of our what is the root cause analysis of a lot of our sickness. At least for me, it was always looking outside of myself, never trusting my spirit. Looking for things, and whether it was overeating food or smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol or all the kinds of things that we can be addicted to. Um, so the first actionable step on, you're building your foundation is going within and learning to trust your spirit. And all the things that make us sick are things that kick our spirit outside of us because our spirit can't come into us. When you're in judgment, pain, fear, lust, anger, sorrow, depression, all the things that that negative cyclone of what causes addictive people, places, things, bad habits, environments. Um, you know, for a lot of us, we've probably been living 99.9% of our life in darkness, not knowing what true light is, the true light within, the true compass that is our heart, not our head, not our parents, not our pastor, not our politicians, not the priests. Nobody outside of us has the answers except for us. Um, Praying to God and Jesus, you're not going to get the answers that way. Those are entities outside of yourself. Those are who knows what kind of forces you're welcoming in by praying to things outside of yourself. Your spirit is your best friend in this life, and we have to learn how to get more spiritual integrity. And that's what this show is all about. Foundational healing could be synonymous with spiritual integrity. And so, um, foundation building a new foundation is the number one priority. So depending on where you are, um, you might want to be somewhere else. I guess is the easiest way to say it, because we're all looking for peace, right? So for me, when you really know that you've got to make a change, and maybe it's living in an unhealthy environment, um, if you have the resources to move, do that as immediately. I was living in an unhealthy environment with two friends, and it's not their fault or anything. It's just that's where we were. We were DJing and partying, and just came out of university, just moved to Toronto. Going out to clubs on the weekends and not the weekends, and just being, I think, at least from. I say regular 25-year-olds, but maybe in North American society, not everybody does that, but that's what I did and what we did, but that was not a healthy, sustainable environment. So moving out on my own was the first step in creating a good foundational healing. And so if you're able to do that, um, to leave the environment that you're in that's causing the sickness, that's the best place to start. I read a great quote this week. Actually, it wasn't really a quote because there was no author attributed to it, but it was something that, the truth resonates. It was on it's like a meme or whatever. It was on an image on social media, but it said you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. And that is 110% true. I hate when people say that. I can't believe I just said it. So that's 100% true. You can't be more than 100%. Um, but anyways, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. So people, places, and things. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, whether that's with a loved one, if you're married to somebody that's unhealthy and you want to make changes, maybe it was you both got into that relationship and you've changed since then. So, you might have to look at changing your relationships, moving out on your own, changing your friends, your community, whatever. Maybe it's even living in the city. I realized that living in the big city at some point became unhealthy for me because I couldn't sleep because there's just the sounds of the city. There's, King Street seems like a cool place to live until you move there, and then there's Ferraris and just people revving engines till all hours of the night and club night, and it's just not the same place that you move to. So even the environment, a city, is not conducive to healing. So eventually, maybe you can't move right away. So do little steps, take little actionable steps. And it really depends on what you're trying to overcome. For myself, I mentioned I was 250 pounds, so I ended up losing, I think, 90 pounds over the past whatever 12 years. It didn't happen all in one shot. It took a long time. But I wanted to quit smoking. I wanted to quit drinking. I wanted to quit smoking marijuana too. And those were all things that, for me, and overeating, eating unhealthy foods, pop, chips, chocolate bars, pizza. That was just, when I grew up, like, Friday night, especially coming from a separated family, it was like the thing that we did when we would go visit my dad. It was like, munchies and movie night, and so I think a lot of those things, those habits, just we keep recycling the same patterns. And, when you're going back to a time in your life when you thought, oh, looked forward to doing that with the friends and family that you love, and even though it's super unhealthy. So stopping those old repeating patterns and rebuilding your foundation from scratch can be a process. And like I said, it's going up a mountain one step at a time, rebuilding the foundation one brick at a time. Maybe some people, and don't beat yourself up. Like I'm gonna sound like a broken record by the time this is over, but don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself. That's how you got into this position in the first place. And so you are not your past. You're not a born sinner. God's not punishing you. No matter what things you've experienced, traumas in this life or previous life, or your ancestors. And that's the thing too, is that healing is very complicated. And there's a lot of things that are probably stored in our DNA that become triggered, and we don't understand why we might have this a fear or addiction that might not even be ours. It might be somebody else's. So you're not your past, and your root cause analysis for your healing is pretty much probably your whole unhealthy life. So for some of us, that's a tough nut to crack, right? To say, oh, maybe it's my environment, maybe my family, they're not healthy. I want to be healthy, and so you have to move away, and that might be really difficult for some people, because a lot of times our family is, well, most of the time, our family is the first foundation we have. It's the first support system we have. So to move away from that, you don't have you might not have a foundation for a little bit, but you can rebuild it yourself, and that's important. So for me, it was moving out on my own and the process of self-discovery. And really, it's not even self-discovery, because you don't really even, it's about recreating yourself, right? And I think that it's about letting go. It's not even self-discovery. It's about letting go of all the crap that has accumulated in your life. Like, how did you become 250 pounds, smoking, drinking, working a job that you hate, burning the candle at both ends, just and so overcoming addiction's not easy. Totally, completely changing your life isn't always easy. So where do you start? And that's with a new foundation. So wherever you are, if you can't, move out on your own, or that you have to, just start taking steps towards that. Towards Sometimes isolation is a good thing to really rediscover or recreate who you are, to build your new foundation. you can't go back to the same places and things and friends. And, I've had to leave a lot of friends and family behind. And mostly, even some of the friends that I developed, growing up, we were like brothers. But I think a lot of times we were trauma bonding, which is something I heard like a couple of years ago. And I think that's true. It's like birds of a feather flock together. So you might start finding people that you have the similar traumas, and you start, you know, you're still stuck in unhealthy patterns and loops with those people. And like at least we got each other, and and that's not the healthiest thing. So really starting your foundational healing journey, it's a process. It's not an overnight thing. And if it is for some people, that's fine. And for the people that are having a tough time with it, I'm here to say that, like it took me, I think, 12 years to lose and let go of all those things, to lose all that weight, because it would come back and I would start, sometimes it would repeat patterns and things like that. And you don't realize that it's just a constant journey. So little things that you want to build your better foundation with is um, start doing the things you love. I mentioned that last week, and there's a good quote from the Gospel of Thomas, and I've seen it somewhere else too, so who knows on the internet. It doesn't matter really who said it. It's that there's truth in it. It's that if you don't bring forth what's inside you will kill you. So a lot of the times we're addicted, we're escaping things through addictions. Um, and that usually means that we're escaping what we really truly want to be doing. Maybe we're people pleasers. Maybe we took a job because our parents wanted us to. I know I went to university because my parents wanted me to, and I wanted to take a year off. And I don't want to get into the whole story of that right now, but I wanted to take a year off, and they were like really, adamant about me going and this and that. And so I said, "Oh, fine, whatever, I'll go." And like I even to the point where I dropped a class the last year of high school that I knew was a prerequisite to get into university. I dropped that class so I'd have an excuse to take a year off. And then I'm battling with my parents about this and that, and I didn't have the balls at that age to say, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own and just live my own life, because coming from a separated family, my foundation was shaken when I was a kid. And, having a separated family, I always wanted them to be together. I always wanted to have a family. And then when we started a blended family, I felt this responsibility in some strange way to keep my family together. And we're not obligated to do that. So if you know, trust yourself, trust your spirit, go within, and I hope you have the courage to do it, and not wait 10, 20 years or 30 years to go and live your life, do what you have to do. So yeah, if you don't bring forth what is inside of you will kill you. So at all costs, do the things that you love to do. It doesn't matter if if it's not what your parents wanted for you, who cares? You're you, they're them. I know a friend, it's really sad. He was the class valedictorian. He was a year older than me, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. And he got a full ride scholarship to Western University, which was one of the best in Canada. Um, and he was going to go be a doctor. And I think it was like third or fourth year, his grades started falling, and something happened. He got in a fight with his parents, and he ended up committing suicide. And it was like, wow, like I couldn't believe that, like that guy, he chose suicide over telling his parents fuck you and going to do his own thing. And like I don't know the whole story, but that like it really kind of shook my foundation. And that actually was one of the things that I led to a year later dropping out of university and saying to my parents, I'm not finishing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not going down this road. I've already done it. I did it. I didn't even want to go. I wanted to take a year off, and I found myself, 2.5 years in, not liking the commerce program. I thought I was going to do business, and then I decided to switch. I thought I wanted to do something else, and did sociology. Um, and then I'm 5 years in when I should have only been there for 4, but now I'm here in 5 years trying to complete a degree, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm trying to please, my parents, people outside of me, and I decided to drop out without finishing the degree. And that was something, it's little steps like that. That was so like you're the root cause of probably all your addictions and all the things is your whole life. And so my whole life, we're living not for ourselves, at least for me. I was living for other people. I was trying to please, people, places, and things, and trying to do what I thought my parents wanted me to do. And they didn't really say I had to do one thing in specific, but they wanted me to go to university. And at the time, I didn't really want to go to university. I was really loving DJing. I was loving making electronic music, and I was making, I wasn't DJing every night, but I was making $100 an hour or more. Uh, and that's good money when you're 19, 20 years old, I wasn't making $100 an hour doing anything else. And so it wasn't full-time work, obviously, but that was where my passion was. That's what I liked doing at the time. And then so, it was difficult after I dropped out of university. I started working full time and I was still doing the DJing thing. Again, burning the candle at both ends, even on nights when I wouldn't drink or I'd try not to, going out and then after tearing down DJing, you playing till 2 a.m. And then by the time you pack up and, whatever, get home, you're not falling asleep till like 4 or 5 in the morning. And so, and then up, up again at 7 a.m. to go to the day job. So it was just like really unhealthy and trying to be everything to everybody while pursuing my passions and having a respectable job and things like that. And so like it just keeps accumulating, 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 smoking, drinking, eating unhealthy, when you're stuck in those unhealthy environments. And I'm not blaming anybody else. It was all my decisions. They were just things. But there's things that you don't know. I didn't know about psychic cordings. I didn't know about other people's minds. We live in the matrix. Literally, we live in the matrix. So we're all 100% psychic and nobody knows. Most of us don't know it. We don't realize it. So we're picking up on people's thought patterns. We're getting stuck on timelines and pendulums of politicians. Like everything can be a timeline. If you're to a certain political party, certain family systems, churches, schools, doctrines, creeds, and all these different things, they all take our energy, right? But we're not taught that. I wasn't taught those things when I was young. So you wonder, you try to make little changes in your life. And if your family is always going against you, even if they're not saying it out loud, that mental energy, you're picking up on it. And so entities are creeping in. They're creeping into you. And you are not your past. You are not your addictions. You're not a sinner. You're not whatever, all the crap that's accumulated in you that you need to heal from, you're none of those things. You're a spirit, a divine spirit from creation, the source of everything that created everything. We didn't evolve from monkeys. We didn't all that crap. You could be a monkey, and I don't want to get into all that stuff. It's I'm kind of getting sidetracked, but you're not your past. There is life after death. I'm here to tell you those things because I know them and I can't prove them to you, but I feel them in my heart. Life is eternal, and we're here on discovering what it's like to be human. And so when you think that, you're born in sin or all these toxic things from the Catholic Church and all these things that have accumulated in your DNA over the centuries and all these things, it's healing is not it's not an easy thing. It's very complicated. So you have to start one step at a time. And that's why I'm doing this show, is because I want to let people know not to give up, to keep going, that the future can be better than your past. And that's what I think is stops a lot of people on their healing journey, is that they think that, the good old days, that their past, that the best part of their life is behind them and they have nothing to look forward to. And I thought like that several times in my life. And so I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. That's a negative mind pattern, a negative mind loop, maybe an entity, some outside emotional body, pain body, something, your monkey mind telling you that story. And it might seem like you're stuck inside of a prison right now and there's no escape, but start planning, start that foundation, start digging the hole in the wall behind the picture in in your prison cell, little by little, whatever movie that is Shawshank Redemption, where they're digging the hole little by little and putting the the dust or the dirt that comes from the wall, and they let it go in the yard little by little. That's what your foundational healing journey is about. It's about climbing the mountain one step at a time, the foundation, one brick at a time, and not giving up. And you'll get those moments of clarity, and hold on to those things. Hold on to those moments of clarity, those little the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't like using that analogy because I'll get into that in another episode. But those little things that give you hope, the little things that you always wanted to do, you can do those things. And it might seem impossible where you are right now, and it might feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and that it's just not feasible for you. But I'm telling you that it is. one step at a time, get creative with it. Um, One thing that I've always stuck with me is something that one of my high school art teachers told me: see the strange in the familiar. And that sticks with me. Whenever I feel stuck, I try to see the strange in the familiar. So when I feel like there's nowhere to, when I'm exhausted all my options, how can I look at this differently? I'm at maybe you're at rock bottom today. So where do you go from here? You either end your life or you start new, because otherwise you're going to just be repeating the same patterns. The good thing about rock bottom is you can't go any farther. And so that's the turning point. So if you're at rock bottom, take those fucking rocks, use them to build the foundation to your new life. And I think that's where I'll end for today, because I have the tendency to go around in circles and rant and rave. So maybe that's why I was thinking about doing lives, because that would be good. And then people could ask questions and I could answer in the moment. So actionable steps: going within, listening to your heart, listening to your body. And where do you start? I don't have advice for you, because I was the kind of guy that always had advice for everybody, but my own life was a mess. So go within. Your spirit has the answers. And if you're in an unhealthy living situation, then start with finding a new place to live. And if you can't start there, then I would start with looking at if you have anxiety, why do you smoke, all those things. Like I said, for me, I knew smoking was going to be the toughest thing to overcome, because, it's one of the most addictive substances in the world. And, apparently it's more addictive than heroin and all this stuff. So I said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to make smoking the last thing on my list. So for me, foundational healing, once I moved to my new place, it was like, okay, I got to lose the weight. When I look in the mirror, I can't look at this person anymore. So for me, um, my foundational healing journey really started, at least for the weight side of it. I didn't want to say, oh, I'm going to start eating healthy. I liked my junk food. I loved my chips and my pop and my chocolate bars on the weekend. So, but I need to be more active. And I had bad knees at the time. I didn't know how to jog. I was not going to go to the gym. Treadmills were way too high impact for my knees. So I went and I bought a mountain bike. And when I was a kid, I absolutely loved biking. I just loved the freedom. I even had a dirt bike that me and my brother bought when we were kids. But it didn't matter, powered or unpowered. I always loved just being on two wheels, the freedom, the flowing back and forth, how it just feels great when you're on a bike. And and I was really into it at times. I had some really cool BMX bikes and freestyle bikes. So, GT Performer and a Haro Shredder, and just I just loved doing that. And then I hadn't had a bike since I was about, I think, 16 years old. And so when I was 27 and I moved out on my own, I said, you know what? I love biking. That's a good way to get in shape. And I went out and I spent one of my commission checks and I bought a really nice mountain bike. You don't have to spend $1,000 on a mountain bike. You can just get something that's simple, but just go do it, because it's a great way to be in shape. You get to go see parts of the world that you never seen. You get to go fast, and it's just, there's something so enjoyable about it. And for me, it was a blast. It was just the absolute, it was the way that I needed to start my weight loss journey. And I didn't overcomplicate it. Like I said, if you try to do too much at once, I find that you're just bound to fail. And I've tried that so many times where "Oh, I'm going to change my whole life tomorrow." And it's just too easy to get sucked back. So create like kind of like a transition plan for yourself. If it takes you a year or five, it doesn't matter. It's a process. But for me and my brother, we'd go biking 30, 40K a night. I got to see Toronto from a different perspective, the Don Valley trails, explore the beaches, lakeshore. And that was just so much fun. And it was an amazing way. And it's not super, you can go at your own pace, right? So we bought an 18-speed mountain bike with a front shock, so we could go off-roading and kind of the trails and the woods and things like that. But also lock the shock out and go down. There's so many. There's trails all along the waterfront in Toronto, so you can literally go from one side of the city to the next. So, with an 18-speed mountain bike, you can get going pretty good, and you can get the sweat going, and then you can coast for a bit. So, you just go at your own pace, and don't push yourself too hard, because that's kind of the same mental activity that got you to where you are in the first place. Don't beat yourself up. because you've been beating yourself up your whole life probably, right? If you're overweight and you've got all these addictions and things like me. So depending on where you are, just take it easy on yourself because that's what it's really about. Life isn't supposed to be difficult, and maybe that doesn't seem like the case in the society that we grew up in sometimes, but it doesn't have to be difficult, and a lot of it is our mental mind patterns. And so we're all given a different hand of cards, and we're all playing a different hand. So go within and see what works for you. Take what resonates from your heart, and don't try to be something you're not. Like I think I mentioned in my last episode about, if you see some guy at the gym, if you don't have the same body type, don't try to burn yourself out trying to do something. I've hurt myself so many times doing P90X, trying to get in shape in 3 months. It's a process, one little thing at a time. Just even if it's as simple as going for an hour walk every day, just start doing that. Just start somewhere with your foundation, even if it's doing Wim Hof deep breathing. I do Wim Hof deep breathing every day before I get out of bed, 90 deep breaths. So I'll put a link in for the Wim Hof breathing and maybe do a full episode on that one time, and the power of it, because especially if you're a smoker or even not, a lot of us, our whole lives, our breathing is so very shallow and we don't even notice it. You don't even bring conscious awareness to it. I'm still working on it every day. And up to the point where I actually used to wear a rubber band on my wrist to remind me to take a deep breath when, it kind of grounds me and brings your spirit back into your body, your awareness here. And to the point where I was mentioning it to somebody, and I said I was going to start making breathing bracelets. And then my mom, for Christmas one year, she bought me a little kit to make bracelets. And I know that seems like a silly thing to get a 40-year-old man, but it actually helped because I made people breathing bracelets that just said breathe on them. And it was kind of cheesy, but people used them and they found that they were helpful. And my mom her friend was having issues, and I gave one to give to her friend, and she was like, oh my God, it works. So maybe I should sell breathing bracelets. I don't know. But anyways, that's one little thing that doesn't cost any money, is just bring conscious awareness to your breath. And I know that's a good place for foundational healing to start. And so I think that's it for this week. I've kind of gone over everything I wanted to talk about this week. And if you guys, like I said, feedback is always really welcome. Let me know any questions you may have about my healing journey, about your healing journey. If there's something you want to share, drop me a comment. Let me know, please. If there's a topic you want me to cover next week too, that's awesome. I'll definitely consider it, because as I mentioned, I don't have any rhyme or reason to this. It's just to do it, just to tell the story, because it's something that I needed, and it's my way of giving back, because I realized, that it's easy to see people on the surface and not realize what they're going through. Some people are really sick behind closed doors. They might seem like they're doing okay at work. I seemed like I was doing okay at work, but I wasn't doing okay at all. And so past few years listening to people on podcasts, and like people, really respected people, maybe musicians or people on TV that you thought had it all together, and then you find out the darker side and about the things that they went through to heal. And so it's really about, we don't want to get caught up in other people's timelines and things like that. But if things trigger us, that's your triggers are your gifts, because that's where you have blocked energy. That's where you need to heal something. So, this is my way of giving back and explaining my healing journey. And I hope it resonates with some people out there, so that they're not afraid to take the steps with them. And that's watching other people explain their journey too. And you're like, wow, I'm not the only one who's going through this. I thought I felt so alone. I felt I didn't have anybody to reach out to, or how to talk to people, because we want to seem like we always have it together, but nobody knows that you're crying yourself to sleep in your pillow every night because you don't know what to do with your life. You don't know what's wrong with you. You don't know how to get out. You don't know, you feel like something inside of you there's something wrong with you, and you don't know how to escape it. You don't know what's wrong with you. So you don't have any light. We've lived 99% of our lives in darkness, a lot of the time. And so that's why I'm doing this show, is for our people out there who might need to hear some of these things. And everybody's got a different journey. So like I said before, there's certain people that you're going to resonate with and certain people you're not. So I hope that I'm resonating with some people, and that they feel that they can reach out to me, or that they can continue following me with my journey. If it's going to be helpful to them, inspiring for them to know that, hey, man, this guy made it through hell and back. And I've been, and I went back a few times. So I've been to hell and back a few times. And so hopefully, you don't have to go back down those same roads, and I'll explain how that worked for me, so you don't beat yourself up even more, and that you do believe that there is the possibility of building a strong new foundation, and that our future, that the best is yet to come, and that it doesn't have to be like your past, that you can create an entirely different new life for yourself, an entirely new reality for yourself. And that reality isn't what we've been taught. And I think that's a powerful thing to understand, because we think we're living somewhere. And when we think we're living somewhere, we feel victimized by our circumstances, people, places, things, society, governments, the world we live in. And there's a lot of things coming out in the future and in the upcoming months and years that are going to allow people to see that we've been really lied to about the reality, and how we have so much power to create the realities that we truly want, and we don't need to participate with. And so you can build a new foundation, you can change your life, and you can change your reality, and you can heal. And it might take you 10 years, it might take you 20 years, but it's worth starting today, and it's worth planting that first brick on your new foundation and taking that first step and climbing your mountain. So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. I really do appreciate you sharing your time and space and attention with me, because our attention is our most powerful, valuable resource. And I wasted my time and attention a lot of years on unhealthy things. So I do know it's the most valuable thing we have. So I hope there's my timer. It's the most valuable thing we have. So I do know how much it means, and I appreciate you sharing this space and time with me. And I hope you gain value from it. And I hope that I am in some way inspiring you to keep going if you're going through a tough time, or inspiring you to get started on the journey if you're just, lost and you don't know where to start. I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing the show for the foreseeable future, until I feel that it's no longer needed. And who knows, it may transform, because I know that I have a lot of things that I want to do. On my new foundation isn't built yet. I didn't build the foundation of this home that I'm living in, and I would like to build the foundation one day. So my journey is going to be continuing on, and it took me about, like I said, it took me about 10 solid years to get here. So who knows, this show may be on for 10 years. So don't give up on me. Don't give up on yourselves. And thank you guys once again for joining me. This is Roberto saying peace out, and go within.